All right, bro. This will be part of Flick's third season officially in charge of Barcelona. We are aware that this upcoming Sunday, Barcelona kick off La Liga against Elche. This would be their first week, game in. So let's see what happens, right? I want to go ahead and ask you a couple of things in this video. I want to go ahead and start off with the main thing being, what do you think that Barcelona's main objective should be on the Flick this season, given the fact that the first season in charge, Flick did go to the semifinals to become a Champions League against, with Inter. And then last season, of course, it also against Atletico Madrid. What do you expect in the Champions League? What do you expect in La Liga? Do you think that Barcelona should go ahead and retain the league against for the third time in the season? In a row, I'm sorry. The Copa del Rey, of course. Give me your expectations for, I guess, future, signings. Let's say we get a number nine. Who do you think? And I know both you and I are aware of certain names that have played there for the number nine position. Let me know who you would like to come in. But yeah, let's get started, bro. Let's go ahead and give me your thoughts about the Champions League because I think we all know what we want as Barcelona fans. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, dude, I think at least for myself and for yourself as well, I think we're in the same boat. And I think a lot of Barca fans, bro, we're looking forward for that Champions League. And I think that's the trophy that I think a lot of the Barca fans want, for Barca to win. I would say, if Barca were to go ahead and win the league and the Copa del Rey, I'm not too sure if that's going to be enough for Barca fans to continue perhaps having faith in Flick, and then we're going into Flick's third season, right? So if Flick doesn't win the Champions League this season, bro, he's only gonna have more added pressure, and then going into that fourth season, right, it's gonna be even more pressure to win it. And with more pressure that you add on a coach or on a team or at a club, the higher the expectations, right, the less likely that they're gonna be able to achieve it. So I hope this season, Flick is able to go ahead and win the Champions League with Barca. I think right now is a good time to potentially do it because, you have a lot of players, right, that came back from the World Cup that won the World Cup, with Spain. So we know that they can do it. We know that they can do it. Um, and yeah, dude, I think the expectation is a Champions League, that's the trophy that we all won. But yeah, tell me, what do you think? Because I'm pretty sure you're in the same boat as I am, bro. I think the Champions League is what we're essentially looking for.
100%. I think that Barcelona has gone years without winning the Champions League, and I believe that this is time for Barcelona to win the Champions League. And like I mentioned earlier, right? Let's not forget that Barcelona have invested in the transfer market. They bought players like Gordon, Ayademi. They bought obviously Rodri, the latest signings. And then, they're still in the market, bro. There's talks about Barcelona trying to potentially still finish the market by getting a number nine. Julian Alvarez just looks like, has been a pathetic when it comes to particular big transfer as we mentioned last week. But yeah, bro, I think that this season, Barcelona needs to go ahead and win the Champions League. When you start dipping into the transfer market, I think that it adds pressure not only to the team as a whole, but even more for the manager. I would say. And the reason why is because
Yeah.
we always see that with managers, right? We saw that with when Mourinho coached, obviously Chelsea, when Mourinho went to Real Madrid. We saw that with Klopp when he invested heavily with Liverpool. We saw that with Guardiola, of course. We saw that even with Xavi, right? When Xavi got Rafinha, like Lewandowski, the pressure just became more for Barcelona. And I mentioned to you that I remember both talked about that time when we said that the fact that Xavi had dug into the transfer market, it was only going to add more pressure too. It did, right? So given the fact that this would be Fleet's third season, I think that many fans do want the Champions League, bro. I think it's time to bring them
No.
home, and I think that this would be, as mentioned, a good chance for Barcelona to do so.
Yeah, dude, and then let's also not kid ourselves, you don't you don't bring Rodri in, bro, because you want to win the league or the Copa del Rey. That's the
Right.
truth. You bring Rodri in because you want to go ahead and win the Champions League, right? So, Barca by signing Rodri are basically telling everybody like, yeah, we want the Champions League, even though obviously they're not gonna say it, but we know that that's what they want. And then they've been chasing Julian Alvarez, right? You don't bring Julian Alvarez because you want him to win the league or you want him to win the Copa del Rey. If you really want those two titles, you can win those two titles without them. That's the truth. So yeah, I hopefully hopefully this is a season, bro. It's been over 10 years already, over a decade. The last time was in 2015 when they won the Champions League. We're going into this is 11 years. If next year they don't win it, we're talking about 12 years without winning the Champions League, bro. At a club like Barca, it's a long time. Real Madrid went 12 years as well, I believe, without winning the Champions League. They won it in 2002, I believe, and then they won it back in 2014. And they were all, asking for it. All the fans were asking for it, just like we were asking for it as well, and then they ended up getting it. So hopefully, bro, hopefully this season, it's the season. There's a lot of teams out there, of course, that are strong, like PSG, Arsenal, Real Madrid are always there too, that yeah, can knock you out, that can compete against Barca for the Champions League. But like I said, bro, Barca right now they have, players like Lamine Yamal, Cubarsí, Pedri, um, Eddie Garcia, right? Even though they didn't play, but Eddie Garcia was there. Who else was there from Barca? Gavi was there too. Joan Garcia, World Cup winners, bro. They won the World Cup. So what makes you think that they can do it for the Champions League? I'm pretty sure they could. I'm pretty sure they can. So yeah, hopefully we'll see what happens, and then I also wanted to ask you a little bit about the number nine, bro, because you had mentioned earlier in the video that you want to see who comes in, right? And the number nine is needed at Barca, bro, for them to actually win the Champions League. They need a number nine. So I wanted to ask you, who do you think? Because the whole Julian Alvarez thing is has been going on too, and they were talking about Arturo Martinez, but I just recently read that Arturo Martinez is pretty much rolled out.
Yeah. So again, right? But actually, just before I answer your question regarding number nine position, I want to go ahead and kind of go back to the whole championship just real quick. I wanted to go ahead and say that the reason why I also believe that it's important for Fleet to win Champions League this season is because I think that otherwise he's going to unfortunately be seen as another Valverde, bro.
Yeah,
Where Valverde was doing really good at domestic level, with Barcelona winning Ligas, but it just seemed difficult for him to win Champions League ticket there. And that's all I wanted to
yeah,
say. So I hope that they keep on winning
yeah.
this season.
That's true.
At
That's
least get
true.
us to the final. That's what I was hoping. Get us to the final, bro.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So in regards to number nine position, bro, this topic for Barcelona's nine position has been pretty much back and forth for a very long time, right? Especially for both you and I believe. I think that the ninth position was seen as needed for Barcelona to go ahead and replace ever since Lewandowski was, I would say, turning 36, 37. Both you and I talked about how it was kind of crazy how Barcelona were still focusing on trying to have Lewandowski be the starting striker at 37, 38, everyone at the time, right? And I think that where we are right now, I think that it's has to do a lot with sporting directors, which in this case is Deco, right? Because I mentioned to you last time, I said, that I don't think it's fair for Fleet to start this new season without a proper number nine that he himself has been asking for. And this comes, what, 2 weeks before the transfer market closes,
Yeah.
3 days before his first meeting. It's just, I don't know, so it sucks, but we're here, right? So when it comes to ninth position, obviously, as you mentioned, right, we both know, everybody knows that Julian Alvarez just pretty much seems impossible to come to Barcelona. I think that Lautaro Martinez, as you mentioned, right, I agree with you. I also read that Inter Milan doesn't want to sell him. And why would they want to sell their captain? They're starting number nine 2 days, 2 weeks before the transfer open process.
Yeah.
Why would they want to do that? And then in my case, you also, I think that there's a strong option for Girokinis. I think that he can be an option for Barcelona. I don't mind Girokinis. I've seen Girokinis play, and I think that a lot of people don't like Girokinis and probably think that he's not going to put in Barcelona. But I think he would be a good option for Barcelona, bro. I think that he would be a good option in a sense that price tag is not that much. And I also think that Arsenal will probably be willing to sell him for the right price because if I'm not mistaken, I think Arsenal played today, or I don't know when exactly, but Arteta didn't start on Girokinis.
Yeah.
Starting.
Hmm.
So those are my three options, if I'm being honest with you, for the grand position. I mean, not three
Yeah,
options,
they
but
yeah. Yeah, Arsenal 1-3-0, bro. And he didn't Arteta didn't start Gyökeres. So Gyökeres is out of favor with Arteta. That's the truth. And I think, like you said, if Barca come in, they could potentially get him for a good price, because I think Arsenal will be willing to sell him.
Yeah,
So, and a lot of people don't like him. I don't know why, to be honest. I think he has a lot of good movement. And I
yeah.
do think that Barca have better wingers than Arsenal do. So they're going to feed him a lot more better balls. He has speed, strength, headering, good finishing as well. His ball control may not be the greatest. That's true. But at the end of the day, like if you have Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Pedri, right? You have those players that can feed you really good balls, Rodri too, that can feed you good balls, then as long as you have the right players that can feed you very well, you should be able to do all right. So yeah, and he's the same age as Arturo Martinez. They're both 28. So I don't think that'll be a bad option at all, if you ask me.
No, especially because I think Lautaro Martinez for the cost of Barcelona 100 million. Easily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he
bro.
will
And
be
like you said,
those.
yeah, then like you said, it doesn't make any sense, bro, to expect Inter Milan to sell their captain, bro, and they're starting number nine, like less than 2 weeks now before the transfer market ends. Like, who the hell are they gonna get? They're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to get anybody at a reasonable price, so it just wouldn't make any sense for them to sell. So I honestly I don't see Inter selling Lautaro Martinez, and I think if Barca don't get Julian, I think they're going to end up going for Gyökeres. If I, that's what I believe.
I think so too, bro. And there was another name out there, which was Luis Suarez. I think he's the Colombian striker.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's dumb, bro. 80 million? That's ridiculous, dude. I
I
wouldn't
think
pay 80
that
million for him.
yeah, me either, bro.
Nah.
I mentioned to you sometime, right? And some time ago, and I mentioned to you, I said that the kind of caught me off guard, right? Given the fact that Barcelona are out there looking for a number nine player, right? In my opinion, if Julian Alvarez doesn't come, Lautaro Martinez doesn't come, and even Guido Perez doesn't come, I think that Barcelona should. There's two options in my opinion, right? One, I think they can still go and try to negotiate for Rashford. That's just my opinion.
Mhm.
Many people might be like, "Nah, you're crazy," I get why. I'm not saying that he's the obvious choice, but I'm
Yeah,
saying that
yeah,
he
yeah.
came to Barcelona for one season already. He could play multiple positions, and I'm talking about the winger, or he can play at 99 as a striker, and you flick utilize him on the striker here. And I feel like he can come here to Barcelona, and honestly, bro, I think that he can rotate with him and Osman. I honestly believe that maybe bring Rashford in and then have Hosbach come in. And because you also don't want to add too much pressure against that for Hosbach, though. You don't want to put too much pressure on how we've seen on the likes of, like, for example, Ansu Fati, unfortunately, fell most recently. Bojan, of course, you have Rosa Gio. Lamine Yamal is an exception, right? Because yeah, he's done well under pressure. Araujo was another one that, in my opinion, fell under the pressure for at some point. Because Araujo was really good for Barcelona when he moved to the from La Masia. But yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think that should be an option for Barcelona?
I think that could be a last resort option, bro. I think
Yeah, right.
if nothing works, let's say they can cut a deal with Gyökeres with Arsenal for Gyökeres, I mean, then yeah, why not? Because at the end of the day, Rashford already knows the club. He already knows the playing style of Hansi Flick. Yeah, we're probably not gonna expect him to score this bunch of goals as a number nine, but he can play that position, and why not? Why not? I honestly wouldn't. If let's say it's the last day or 2 days before the transfer market ends, and Barca have no number nine, and then they just pay the 30 million for Rashford, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be upset because at the end of the day, you get a player that can play as a number nine, they can play as a winger as well. So, but one thing for sure is that Flick needs a number nine, bro, and he's been asking for a number nine. He's been saying that he expects Barca this week. He was thinking it was going to be settled this week. So I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I think they're taking a long time. Maybe they're waiting for Julian Alvarez until the very end to see if maybe they can go ahead and get him. But I have a feeling that if they wait until the very end, bro, it's gonna be another Nick Williams 2.0, where they wait until the very end and at the last minute he's not coming. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. But I don't believe that it's fair for Flick to go into this season, bro, his third season, where we're essentially all the fans are putting pressure for him to bring the Champions League to Barca, and he has no number nine. I don't think that's fair on him either. And stuff like this is the reason why your coaches leave. And I did tell you, and I told you before that I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, Barca don't get him the number nine. You know, Barca get knocked out of the Champions League, bro, I wouldn't be surprised if Flick comes out and says, "Yeah, I'm not renewing with Barca. This is my last season and I'm out." Because what's gonna happen next season, bro? More pressure to win the Champions League. Like I said earlier, fourth season, everybody's gonna say we want Champions League. Period. We don't want the league. We don't want the Copa del Rey. We already had it. We want the Champions League. So the pressure's gonna build. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. But they still have some time. Yeah, not as much time, but they still have some time until the transfer market ends.
I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I think that both you and I agree that if Flick doesn't win the Champions League, I feel like a lot of fans are going to start saying, like, hey, what's wrong with the Champions League? Yeah, we giving us
Yeah,
a try about domestic leagues if we want the Liga, right? But I mean, we want the Champions League. And I think that when Barcelona goes out, I guess it's 80 million or more, and 22 on the higher than me, um, potentially 70, 75 from all the when you start talking about numbers being invested in the club, or hey, you know what, you're bringing in players, right? Now, this is the thing, right? Both you and I, we've always said a club can go ahead and splurge off 500 million, 300 million, 200 million, whatever it is. But if you're splurging money out, that means you're trying to go for something, right? Now, at the end of the season, after you splurge that money, it can either be seen as a good investment or bad investment. So the 80 million that Barcelona is going to put invested on Gordon, plus the 75, let's say, and 22, so far as we start the season, are either going to be good investments or bad investments for Barcelona at the end of the season. And I think a lot is going to have there's a lot of that is going to come down to how many trophies and what kind of trophies Barcelona wins. But so
yeah, I
I
agree.
think I think it's very important for for Barcelona to see what they can do in the Champions League, and then I also think that we're going to talk about whether Gordon for coming to Barcelona for 80 million is a good choice for them. I don't
That's
know.
true.
What do you think
Yeah,
about
we'll
Elche?
see. Yeah, dude. So the first game, right? It comes on Sunday. Elche are because the Barca are playing away, right? So I
Yeah,
think Elche are a team that actually like to play, bro. They have that one coach who, I think that's the same coach, right? That was in the Setien's second
son,
coach.
his son, it was
I
his son.
forgot. I forgot his name. Oh, it's his son. Oh,
Yeah, it
shoot.
was his son.
Okay. Yeah, he's surprised, but you know what surprised me, bro? He's been having Edge play pretty good. They've been playing courageous. They play pretty good. They attack. They actually attack. And they don't play bad. They try to come out playing from the back and whatnot. They kind of remind me of how Fabregas is doing with Como, to be
Right.
honest. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be an open game because I don't think he's gonna sit back. He's gonna have Elche sit back, especially them being at home. So I do see Barca winning this game. I can see Barca winning this game by a good amount of goals. I do want to see how fit some of the players are, and I do want to see some players as well, bro. Because obviously I would like to see Hamza because I don't think Barca are gonna settle the number 9 thing anytime soon. I do want to see how I would like Fleek to start Hamza, just to see how he does in a professional league game, because he honestly, in my opinion, bro, he did very well in preseason. He did very well. He's there. He's very dangerous. He's always looking for the ball. He follows the ball a lot. He has good speed, good strength, good height for headers as well. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, bro, I read that Barca raised his release clause, by I think they raised it to 500. No, no, no. How much?
I heard 150. Maybe I'm
Oh,
wrong though,
okay,
but
cool. Okay, yeah, yeah. They raised it because it was only 15 million. Like, what the hell?
yeah,
15 million. Anybody's gonna come and scoop him up for that price. So yeah, bro. So I would like to see if maybe Fleek starts him, and maybe to see if Fleek starts Xavi Espart, who's another one that has impressed me a lot in the midfield, bro. In the preseason, he's been doing very well in midfield, and like it is, bro. Barca, in my opinion, bro, are one of those clubs that have always been blessed with good midfielders. And this is good, bro, because it puts pressure on players like Pedri, De Jong, maybe not Fermin, because Fermin, I think he's
even
still
Fermin.
even
Honestly, even
Fermin, that's
Fermin.
true. Fermin, but also Olmo, bro. Olmo as well. So, I want to see who Flick starts. Who do you think he's gonna start, in the starting lineup? And how much do you think Barca will win by?
I think Barcelona can win this game and should win this game minimum by 2 goals, right?
Uh,
And in regards to the starting lineup, I mean, I think that it's going to be. I wonder if he is going to start Lamine Yamal, of course, Because we also got to
Yeah.
think about players like, for example, I mean, Yamal, Pedri, even Barca, they play a lot of minutes in the World Cup. So I
Yeah.
do wonder if he's going to start. But if he goes with a full squad, I think Flick's full squad is going to look something like Lamine Yamal playing in the wing alongside Gordon, right? And then he's probably going to play, in my opinion, Rafinha as a false nine. I think he's going to put Rafinha as a false nine. And I think he's going to go ahead and play with Dani Olmo, of course. I don't think Rodri is going to start, right? So I think it's going to be either Pedri, Pedri, and then I think he should also be starting, in my opinion. Man, that's difficult. I would say Mark Penal. I would like to see Mark Penal because I don't think Rodri is ready yet. Um,
No.
or even Xavi a spot, like you said, right? Why not? Let's see what happens. And then I don't think Cancelo's ready, so we might see Balde starting. I don't know if he's going to start with Balsi because, like I said, his minutes. But if he does, let's start with Balsi. Gerardo Martin, I think he should be starting for sure. And I think the question remains if he's going to start with Bunde or Eddie Garcia right back.
I th so I think he's gonna go with Eddie Garcia as right back, and I think the reason why is because he's been playing Kunde as center back, bro. During the preseason, he's been trying him as a center back. I actually think we might see Kunde as a center back, and we might see Eddie Garcia as right back, because Eddie Garcia already said that Flick told him that he's gonna be playing as a right back this season, not as a center back. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Eddie Garcia as right back, Kunde as center back, along with Gerard Martin, because I think he's gonna rest Cubarsí
Right.
and Balde. I kind of have a feeling he's probably gonna go with that lineup. And I think Joan Garcia is gonna start because he didn't have much minutes in the World Cup.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna start. And in midfield, bro, I don't think he's starting Pedri or Rodri because
Yeah.
I don't think they're match ready because they haven't really had a good preseason in terms of training. You know, they were on vacations after the World Cup as well. So I think he's gonna go with Xavi Espart, and I think he's gonna go with Bernal. That's sort of what I think he's gonna go with, and I think he's gonna go with Fermin up there, as a third midfielder. And then up front, I have a feeling he's gonna go with Rafinha on the right. I think he's gonna rest Lamine Yamal. I have a feeling he's gonna go with Hamza at the beginning. I just have a feeling he is. And I think on the left, I think he's gonna go with Gordon. And if not, he might play Adeyemi through the middle. That's
Yeah.
sort of what I think. But I don't think Lamine Yamal, I don't think Pedri, Rodri, and Cubarsí are gonna start. I don't
And
think so. And they
Marcelo.
shouldn't, bro. And they
No.
shouldn't, in my opinion. They shouldn't start because they haven't had a proper preseason. And they didn't even play the full game at the Joan Camper. And they were on vacations after the World Cup, and they played a lot of minutes in the World Cup too.
Yeah. I agree with you, bro. I
Mhm.
mean, it's the first opening game of the season. They do play away, of course, but it's only the first game, and I think that Fleet, I will say, has been smart in terms of how to handle how he's been
Yeah,
handling the players' minutes. Because we might even see a Gavi play, right? Even Gavi didn't even
yeah,
play in the World Cup, so we might
true.
see a Gavi play. But yeah, I mean, overall, I do expect for Barcelona to win. Let's see if they do, but I'm
Yeah,
interested in seeing how the season is going to turn out.
yeah, and I agree with you. I think Barca can win by 2 goals. I could kind of see like maybe a 4-2 or 3-1 win by Barca. But one thing for sure, bro, is that we no longer have to worry about having Ferran in the starting lineup.
Did you
So
see his
that's
miss from PSG?
yeah. Well, I didn't see it because you sent me the video, bro. I didn't get to see the actual miss. I just saw that one dude talking about it
Oh man, dude, it was solo. He blew it in the air, bro.
for
Oh
PSG.
yeah, for PSG, it looked funny, dude.
I'm gonna check it out again because I saw it, but I only saw he only showed the World Cup miss.
Oh, no, no, no.
The
He showed the PSG one.
Oh shit, I'm gonna watch it again. I probably wasn't paying attention. I'm gonna watch it again.
Hold on.
Well,
Just real quick. What made me laugh about that, dude? Is that
what?
before, doing that first official game for PSG and making that horrible miss, he was over there in training, showing off how much he can score in goals. I don't know if you saw that.
Bro, but you know what though? This is PSG's problem now, and PSG fans are gonna go ahead and experience what we've been experiencing about Ferran Torres. Yeah, the guy can score you a goal. That's true. He can score you a goal here and there, but that guy will go missing for so many games, and that guy will miss so many chances. It's not even funny.
It is.
But yeah,
Let's see what happens. But like you said, he's no longer a problem. So I want to see what happens in the Champions League, with
yeah,
League, in the Liga, in the Copa del Rey. And I definitely want to see how Barcelona start this season off. And yeah, let's see what happens.
yeah, bro. We'll see what happens.